The Giants have
Top of
hired
everybody's list.
John Harbaugh. John Harbaugh, long tenured Ravens coach, had a lot of success, was able to win a Super Bowl with one quarterback, not another quarterback.
I'll talk about it.
Talk about it. You're a Giants guy.
Giants guy.
I'm fucking elated. So, Joel, I was actually listening to your video, like the first few minutes because I was at work. First few seconds, I
just
should
put
say.
up like a 5. Is that the 5?
I know. You drop long ones. I respect it. You just get in your bag and you talk.
Sometimes I talk
You're
and
a
it just
yapper.
keeps going.
Elite yapping. Now, your anti-CEO coach,
Caveat.
John Harbaugh.
If you're a dog shit organization, hire CEO head coach if he's good.
So that's what I gathered from your tweet.
Yeah.
That's what I understood. I tried to put it together.
Kind of banged, too.
Did it?
Nice little traction. I think like 400 likes.
Dells has been cooking on Twitter recently.
Am I
Joe
the
Dells,
only
give him a
guy that
follow.
doesn't tweet as much as
Twitter,
you guys?
TikTok, all that.
I don't tweet too often.
You don't.
I feel
Like
like
when the
you've been
games
tweeting
are
more than
on.
me lately.
Maybe.
The thing is, you
Couple
don't
days.
have to tweet as often if you tweet the right way.
Good point.
If you tweet the right
What,
way,
what'd you call it? Tweet hunting? What'd you call it?
yeah.
I don't know what it was. The Caleb and Drake May tweet when I said the next generation runs through him.
Oh
run
yeah,
through
yeah,
them.
yeah,
You're like,
yeah,
oh,
yeah,
you're
yeah,
tweet
yeah,
hunting. Or
yeah,
something.
yeah. You definitely were. Which whatever, it worked. It banged.
Like, okay.
Nevertheless, this is organizational culture change entirely for the New York Giants. You needed somebody that was going to come in and off rip, lay a foundation, and create a floor. Because the Giants' floor, unfortunately, was bottom 5 team in the league for multiple seasons. You need a guy who's going to set a standard. Something like a Mike Vrabel, who goes into the Patriots, and now we're setting a tone. We're changing the culture. We're changing how we do things around here. We need to hold ourselves to a certain level of expectation, and let's meet it. With Harbaugh, you immediately do that. Now, there's talent on this roster. We don't have to question that. On the defensive side of the ball, we know what that defensive front holds. The secondary definitely needs to be rejuvenated, definitely needs more talent brought in. But offensively, the infrastructure is there so long as Andrew Thomas is healthy. When Andrew Thomas is healthy, this is one of the better offensive lines in football. Jackson Dart has potential. The combination of Scatterbo and Tyrone Tracy. Now with the emergence of a Wan'Dale Robinson, with of course Malik Neighbors, you can obviously improve in skill position players always, but Theo Johnson being a very respectable tight end threat at his position, John Harbaugh is going to not only elevate your floor, but now immediately you bring in Todd Monken, who was excellent for Lamar Jackson play calling. Of course, Lamar is Lamar, but he had some of his best statistical seasons.
He took a leap.
With Monken. He became a much better refined passer under Todd Monken. Defensively, I'm interested to see what happens. Because apparently it's rumored that Anthony Weaver, the defensive coordinator for Miami, is now going to come in and potentially be their defense coordinator. I'm very high on that because I thought he'd be potential head coach. And I think that this could be one step closer to that as well. But there's so much talent on this defensive line with Abdul Carter, the way that he emerged and he broke out towards the end of the season. Obviously, how great Brian Burns was this year, being top 3 in sacks this season. Dexter not being the same threat that he was getting after the quarterback, but we know the level of player Sexy Dexy is. This is still a team that has talent that just needs refinement and needs to be held to a certain level. And I think with Harbaugh, he immediately does that. And I think that you're 100% right. He'll have a hand in everything. And when you're the Giants, you desperately need that. And I don't think that that's necessarily always a bad thing. Like, I think Vrabel kind of came into the Patriots, and I get that Kraft is the guy, but Vrabel is calling every single shot. Mm-hmm. I get that Tomlin is becoming stale and had become stale, but Tomlin's going to go to another team whenever he decides to do that, and he's going to call the shots. Sean Payton went to Denver. He's the CEO.
He calls the offense plays.
Yeah, but he also kind of changed everything.
No, for sure.
Yep.
Like, immediately, he's like, this is our guy. This is our quarterback, Russell Wilson. I'm actually going to sit him. It's going to benefit us. We can cut him, too, if you want to, Patton. It's not going to bother us. Trust. Andy Reid going to Kansas City. That took some time, but that was really Mahomes. That one's on a lesser scale, but Andy Reid, the foundation's there. But I think the perfect examples of that is Vrabel and Sean Payton. Jim Harbaugh is a step in the right direction. That's a TBD because, of course, they've disappointed the last 2 years, but we see the vision there. But Vrabel and Sean Payton are a perfect example of why that is okay to believe in that, because we see how much they've elevated their teams since going to their respective teams. With Harbaugh, I believe it'll be the exact same thing. They just have a little bit more to go. And I think that could be refined on the defensive side, and it will happen.
There was a graphic that was posted of every team's winning percentage since they last won their Super Bowl. The Giants were dead last. They have the worst win percentage since they last won the Super Bowl. And it goes to show the stability that they've been lacking. From Pat Shurmur to Ben McAdoo to Joe Judge. Brian Dable gave them a really good season, but then, fizzled off. They need stability, and I think John Harbaugh provides that. He got a massive contract. It was 5 years, $100 million.
Good for
it's
him.
Worth a lot of money.
Yeah.
And he's going to have a big budget for his coaching staff, which is the most important. So he's going to bring in a good offense coordinator. Tal Monken's coming with him. Jackson Dart, that's going to be a great fit. Defensive coordinator, who knows who's going to be, but they have a big budget to bring in great coaches. And I think that's going to set the foundation. And the Giants, especially this past season, they were competitive with a lot of the top teams.
100%.
They beat the Chargers, who made the playoffs. They beat the Eagles, who made the playoffs. Like, they beat 2 playoff teams. They almost beat the Broncos, but they gagged and they choked. Like, the Giants showed that they can play and be competitive against top teams. And maybe this past season, them going up against
schedule.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah, last year they were supposed to have that.
They had a
gauntlet.
Yeah,
but maybe this time around it's a little bit easier. And they have shown, like, they have the talent. Defensively, they have an infrastructure with that defensive line of Abdul Carter, Brian Burns, Dexter Lawrence. Offensively, they have Jackson Dart, Malik Neighbors when he's healthy. Cam Scottaboo was playing awesome until he got hurt. I think they were one of the better coaching destinations. I think they had a lot of things in place to be competitive fairly quickly. And I think John Harbaugh could turn this thing around relatively fast. Like, I think the Giants can be an in-the-hunt, maybe wild card team as early as next season. They attack this offseason vigorously. They have an A-plus draft, and I think the Giants are back to being relevant, and I think they have a chance to stay in there with John Harbaugh.
Yeah, it's
Mets offered for $220 apparently.
Ooh, so he just chose to dodge.
No.
He got $20 million more.
The issue is Cohen low-key cheaped out.
Yeah.
Cohen low-key cheaped out. That's an L.
Hate to see it.
They created this whole third apron.
So
for him to not even pony up.
Didn't get Kyle Tucker, you're not happy?
Fuck you.
I'm fucking.
Go talk about the fucking
I'm
Giants.
fucking ecstatic then.
Yeah, do what I tell you.
Yeah, you know what's important about CEO type coach? What'd you say?
Another row.
Fuck you. I think what's important about this dynamic is that he's kind of coming into a young group. And I think that's super important. Kind of a young group without a foundation. He kind of gets to build this thing from the ground up. You mentioned you drafted Jackson Dart, Cam Scottaboo last year. A couple years prior, it was Malik Neighbors, Abdul Carter, you just also drafted last year. Brian Burns is young. Dexter is young. Like, this team is still relatively young. Even Javon Holland is around 26 years old. So this team is young. It's fresh. I think you can now kind of mold this group and really build a solid foundation. It's super important, especially, like you mentioned, attacking this offseason, because you still have the Eagles that's going to be around. I'm sure Dallas is going to try to shake some things up on the defensive side. They're probably a defense away from being a really good team. And then you got the NFC West and all that whatnot.
Got the Commanders coming back too.
Commanders, we'll see how, if they don't, pay a bunch of old people, we'll see how they do there. But the Giants have an opportunity here. I think John Harbaugh, the way they wanted him to, the way they made it a mission to know who they want, go get their guy, I thought that was super important. They really felt like this was the guy for the job, and I think we can all agree he is the guy. It's just about how are you going to make these moves on the margin, and how much are these players going to grow. Most of these players got hurt last year, so it needs a lot of your young players, so you don't want to see that too early. But I like where they're going. I like the direction in which the Giants are going to be. Like you mentioned, they did play competition tough. They definitely were a pain in my ass. So now they're going to come back. They have John Harbaugh. I'm excited.
Yeah, if you missed my video, Joel Delson TikTok, you reposted it, I think.
That doesn't mean I've watched it.
Oh, I respect that, actually. Showing love, but just like, I'm not going to watch.
Yeah, fake love.
Okay.
That's not fake love.
Fake love, because I definitely,
it is a little fake love.
praying it doesn't bang.
I'm
okay, now that's hate.
No, it's elite hate.
No, but what I was saying was, for the most part, I think CEO head coaches, I'm out on, and I think get overrated, because their main job is to like build a culture. And maybe this is just me having, trauma from the Jets. Culture is winning games, and winning games means getting good coaches and getting good players, right? So there are some CEO head coaches that have worked out in the past. Like obviously Tomlin goes on this 15-year run. They make the playoffs every single year, even though they don't, ultimately win a Super Bowl, in the last like 10 years or so. You have other guys like Dan Campbell, although he's an offensive mind. He called plays this year. Sirianni, who won a Super Bowl, but the next year fans want him fired. Maybe that's just Eagles fans for you. But I thought John Harbaugh going to the Giants made a lot of sense just because of how bad of a situation the Giants were, not in the terms of players or roster, because you guys just laid it out. This roster is talented, right? It's not devoid of talent, but it's just the rut they've been in. In the last 15 years, they've won one playoff game. And outside of that one playoff game, which was Daniel Jones being the Vikings, which gave him a 4-year contract, which kind of set them back, they haven't done anything, right? They have one other playoff appearance, and for the most part, it's them having top 5, top 10 picks, not being competitive. So they didn't have a floor, or the floor was them being one of the worst organizations in sports, who said the last time they won a Super Bowl was 2011, right? So since 2011, they have the worst record in football. That includes the Jets. That includes the Browns, right? That includes some of these organizations that we think are just terribly owned, which the Giants always, I think, get a pass because of the Mara family, how they're respected. Of course, having the 2 Super Bowls in the late 2000s, early 2010s. But yeah, they've missed on a lot of quarterbacks and head coaches and high draft picks that John Harbaugh is going to come in and give you at least a floor. It was funny when I tweeted that last night, there was a Giants fan I mentioned saying, Dell's like, what happens when we lose in the first round every year? I'm like, brother, you got 2 playoff appearances in the last 15 years. If you're winning 10 plus games every single year and making the playoffs, then we can have a different discussion. But that's kind of where my mind was when I first made that video saying I'm out on CEO head coaches. I think your ceiling is super limited. I shouldn't say super limited. It is limited though, because typically they're not giving you a schematic advantage like, a Mike McDonald or Sean McVay or Kyle Shanahan. And I know these are the one-on-one head coaches, right? But I mean, Mike McDonald was hired a couple seasons ago, right? Sean McVay had to get hired over Ron Rivera or something at the time, right? You do sometimes have to take these chances on unknown coaches who do specialize on one side of the ball. But for the Giants, it makes sense just because, they need stability. They need next season. I think a wild card is definitely in the cards. If Jackson Dart can stay healthy, and bringing in Todd Monken, who I thought was fantastic with the Ravens. Jim Leonard is one of the defensive coordinator options, who I think would be a great hire. Anthony Weaver, I think, would be a great hire. So he's bringing in the coordinators too. Like, if they hired Greg Roman as offensive coordinator, I'd be like, no, I'm out. Like, shout out to John, I'm not doing this. But I think Todd Monken was great with Lamar. He definitely took a leap in terms of his passing numbers. They were a lot better offensively in the playoffs too with Todd Monken instead of Greg Roman. So an A+ hire, just a great job for the Giants.
Now we're gonna move on.